Let's see, is this going to work? Yes, this is exactly how a bra for women over 50 should be. All right. There we go. And I think we're good. And I'm going to pop out the chat and put it over into this window. Move this over. Change this to live chat instead of top chat. Slide that down. And I think that we're good. And bang, there we go. Hope you folks are doing well. Happy time of day. Let's see here. Greetings from Union County, Georgia. How you doing? It's a pleasure meeting and talking with you Wednesday at Adepticon. I consider that brief time with you one of the gems of Adepticon. Well, that's very nice of you to say. I hope that your Adepticon was better than just chatting with me, but it's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. It was good to see you. Pumpernickel Pickle, how you doing? Nick Butler, hello from a mild, not mid, I thought it said mid, but it said mild. Mild and windy, Horsham, Sussex. Coffee and perusal of Osprey books is on the cards. Nice. Ominous thumbnail, thinking this is a can't miss show. I mean, you can always miss a show. There's nothing wrong with that. It's mainly, like in the description, it basically says, well, you know, now Adepticon's done. That was like a big thing. And now I got, you know, what's the next thing on my, you know, whatever. I got stuff to do. And what is it? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And yeah, but I don't mean it to be ominous. That's why I used an old guy like me. Let's see here. Melnick, how you doing? Economowalk, excited for the new game to come out from Snarling Badger. Well, I appreciate that. That's good to hear too. We'll talk a little bit about that too. Nagram, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Ahoy, ahoy. Terrence, good time of day. Anything really surprising on the show floor at Adepticon? It was good to see you as well at Adepticon. Anything surprising? No, not particularly. Not to me, at least. I don't know. I was a little surprised at how big Archon's booth was. Like they had this massive booth and then it was a lot of open area. I thought, I'm like, well, you could have dialed it back a little bit maybe, but you know, whatever. I think sometimes companies do that just to be like, look how much space we take up in our massiveness. And you know, when you go to Gen Con, Asmodee does that. Like they'll just be like, look how big our booth is. And you're like, okay, well, if you like wasting money, I guess, cool. But yeah. Good morning from muggy Washington, D.C. It was nice seeing you at Adepticon. Absolutely, Fungazi. I wish I was still there, but I don't think my body could handle another day of Adepticon. Yeah, I was pretty knackered by Sunday. So yeah. But luckily I got through it. And then got through the following week. And then yesterday, I threw my back out. So luckily that didn't happen while I was at Adepticon. So I've been hobbling around the house. I've been using a cane. I have this cool cane that I bought years and years and years ago at a, where did I get it? You know, someplace really therapeutic. Renaissance Festival. That's where I bought it. And it surprisingly helps. I don't know why. Like, it's not like I'm losing my balance or anything like that, but, and I throw my back out from time to time. I think the last time I did it was like in 2023 or 2022, somewhere like that. And you just sort of like hobble around for a while and maybe you go to a chiropractor or whatever. But I kind of grabbed this sort of right away after I did it. And it just helps me to sort of stand up a little bit better. I don't know. It's weird. So, I don't know. Sitting is mostly fine. It's getting up and walking around. It makes me look like an old person. Well, one of the things. And yeah. And then, of course, yesterday also, like it's been raining nonstop for like a week here. Now it's sunny, thankfully, and it's windy, so that'll help. But the basement was all wet. Like it gets, if it like gets cloudy, there's a spot where we get like a little trickle, like it leaks all the time in like this sort of one spot. Not all the time, but anytime it rains, nearly like in the summer and stuff like that, there's this one spot where I just know don't ever set anything here, and it leaks from this one spot and it goes to a drain in the middle of the room, and it's fine. But because of this, just so much rain and everything over days and days and days, it was leaking at a bunch of other areas where it doesn't usually. Still, nothing was damaged particularly. I think a box had fallen on the floor and it got kind of damp, but it wasn't a big deal. But anyway, so I went to Menards and bought a couple more box fans, and bought a second dehumidifier. We've had this one dehumidifier for a while, and so I was like, maybe we should have a second one. So I bought a second one, and luckily got all that for the most part set up before I threw my back out. And then, see, I threw my back out. Here's how so there's these ninjas that moved into the neighborhood, ninjas, and they got the hoods and the little shoes with the little toe thing and all that kind of stuff. Nice guys. I said hi to them, and then I came into the house, and then I used the bathroom, and then I flushed the toilet. And when I went to put the seat down on, the lid down on the toilet, then that's when I threw my back out. So, yeah, it wasn't great. Anyway, old. There you go. Good morning from a pleasant Yukon, Oklahoma. How you doing, Rodney? Morning from Quebec, Dragonfire. Good to see you. Made it for the start. Well, for all the good that does you, maybe. But yes, I'm good to see you. Because then you got to listen to dumb stories like this. Morning from Cleveland. Happy Easter. This weekend, I sculpted grass terrain and assembled 1-to-1 scale egg objective markers. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Checking in from a blustery, damp, and chilly South Ontario. As to your thumbnail question, paint more mechs, of course. Well, I mean, painting mechs is, it's fun. Let's see here. Good afternoon from Kent, England. Good time of day. Ralph, how you doing? Loosely Collected. Good morning from Jonesboro. Finally got Space Weirdos, and it's a big hit with my group. Well, that's good. That's really good. Space Heroes is great. It's one of my favorites. I just came through Kent on my way back from Margate back to Horsham. Those are all words. I'm assuming those are all towns in England or somewhere around there. Any big surprises from the show floor? Not really, no. Like I said, it just not so much. Yeah, I don't know. Like, people seem to like the Starcraft, which is good. I saw a lot of people walking around with handfuls of it. It's not for me because I didn't really play the game much when I was younger. I was never good at strategy games because I'm mainly kind of dumb. But also it's an army scale game, which I'm not particularly interested in these days. But I thought the models looked good. I've watched a little bit of, I've watched some videos about the gameplay. I don't know if I've watched a full-blown, yeah, I guess I did watch a battle report on Mini Wargaming. I think, yeah, it was Matt versus Luca on Mini Wargaming. Checking in from a very windy Sweden. Been trying to finish up all of my half-done projects. Then again, I did just pre-order the new Sons of Dorn battalion for my ever-growing Imperial Fists. Well, there you go. Nurgle Matthew, how you doing? Next week is Salute in London. Always diversion into indie kit-bashed games. Nice. I would like to go to Salute, but I would like to teleport there and be like, wow, this is awesome, and then teleport back home. Like the travel part is the thing. But I don't know, maybe someday. Like I would plan more than just going to Salute because it's like, seriously, it's like one day. It's like 10 hours or something, right? Let's see here. Matthew Phillips, how you doing? Bly Noir, howdy. Edward Clay, midnight here in Australia. Looking forward to Repent, ye foolish gods. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm also going to be doing. Now that Adepticon's done, I'm deep into layout on that. So that's the name of the game that we're coming out with next, me and Vince, for Snarling Badger Studios. Tomorrow morning, my time at 8 a.m., the live podcast that we recorded at Adepticon on Friday night, that will go live on our website, or no, not our, well, yeah, but also on YouTube. So if you're not already, like, if you're just like, nah, I'm not really interested in, learning about indie games and their design and stuff like that, then, just check out maybe just check out the recording tomorrow. But if you are vaguely interested in indie games and their design, then you should subscribe to Snarling Badger Studios on YouTube. You could totally do that. If you love your podcasts to be audio and you don't want to see anything, then you could use, any of your podcast platforms of choice. We're on most of those too, I think. Normally there's nothing to look at on our podcasts when it's audio only. But when we do these live shows at conventions, then I record it with my phone. It looks surprisingly good. Phones are amazing. And so yeah, the one that we did at Nova last year, that one again is just like the two of us. You see our faces like yapping and stuff. So there's that. But same thing with this upcoming one. But yeah, they'll go live tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central. So I have to finish editing it. What else? Repent, Ye Foolish Gods. That's the next game. It's coming out last weekend of May or first weekend in June. We haven't quite decided yet. Let's see here. Morning from rainy New Orleans. How you doing? Ralph, how you doing? Saskatchewan, Pesler, good to see you. Let's see here. Moriar, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. T. Morton, how you doing? Thomas. Nemesis. I'm not pronouncing that right. I apologize. Hi from Sweden. How you doing? Morning from Maryland. You are a hero amongst men. I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. Good morning from Texas. How you doing? Good morning from Alberta, Canada. Sergeant Major. Blue Lars collects. I'm the guy who awkwardly shook your hand Thursday morning. I'd like to apologize for interrupting your conversation. Oh, that's not a problem. Not a problem. But I hope you had a good Adepticon. Morning from Iowa. Happy Easter. How you doing? Let's see here. Good morning from Columbus, Ohio. Hello from Naples, Italy. I wish I could go to Adepticon. Evening from Australia. How you doing? Appreciate the thumbnail. It's always nice to have an old gray bearded guy representation in the hobby. Cue whoosh as the irony of this statement goes over a few heads. There you go. Nice. Morning from Farmington, Missouri. Great meeting you at Adepticon. Absolutely. I always like to meet people at Adepticon, so it's always a good time. I mostly noticed the Trench Crusade banner of the Archon booth in the thumbnails. So they were like back to back. Like the what do you call it? The Archon booth was huge, and then Trench Crusades was as wide as their booth, but considerably narrower, right? But still a good sized booth. And we were right across the aisle from both of them. So we saw people going in and out of there obviously all weekend. And but yeah, Trench Crusade had the big round thing and Archon had the big round thing. I wish we had a big round thing. That'd be cool. We need a bigger booth, I think. We had a pretty small booth this year, in which there were times when it was just like this because there were so many people in there. So I think maybe next year, if we could get slightly larger booth, that'd be great. What else? But yeah, Trench Crusade, on Saturday night, Trench Crusade had a preview, kind of like GW's preview, just not as large, obviously, but with better audio. So that's helpful. On Wednesday night, from what I've been told, the GW preview was just fraught with technical difficulties, evidently. So, that happens. Interestingly, when we did our live podcast, we had no technical difficulties. I don't know how that works. Anyway, so Yeah, it was a good time. The preview, they talked about the new two-player starter box that's going to be coming out this summer for Trench Crusade. It's got two armies in it. The bad guys, or the folks on the side of hell, are basically these naval raiders who are all they don't look like old-timey underwater like scuba guys, where they've got like the big bell head with the round thing and the lines. But they kind of look like that a little bit. They just don't have the round thing with the lines. They've got more of it's got multiple kind of holes and stuff like that. And but yeah, they're kind of underwatery. There are some little crabs, so people like that kind of stuff. Um, they showed a crab holding up like a potato masher, like German style kind of grenade, which I thought was fun. Um, what else? And then the church side is a bunch of crazy zealots, and I forget what they're called, but they have these huge millstones around their neck that they carry. But some of them swing them around and smack people. And there's some other stuff. So it's going to be a two-player starter that's going to come with two sets of plastic. The underwatery dudes and the millstone dudes, and then there's going to be like a campaign book. It's called something about the Carcass Front. Um, like it's I guess they're going to do a box like that every year, and it's not. It's just basically like, here's this campaign. Here's some models that go with the campaign. I suspect they'll sell the models separately later on. But if you want both of them in the book and all that stuff, you can do that. And yeah, so, but they talked about plans going forward. One of the reasons that I was there was because we announced that there's an official partnership between Trench Crusade and the Army Painter. The Army Painter is like kind of the official paint. I know they're working with somebody else. I want to say Grimdark Compendium, that they're maybe the official enamel washes or whatever, but um, Army Painter's making paint sets and stuff like that for the different factions. So, and then Army Painter is also going to be doing an arena event. So last year, Army Painter did like an escalation arena where basically people from the company and people who were, I think, a couple of us from folks from the factory team. I didn't do it last year, but it was like kind of like an escalation league sort of thing, except not so much a league. It was just like you're building up this army, you're doing blog posts about it, making content a little bit, and then you play some games towards the end or whatever. We're doing that now for Trench Crusade, and I think it's just going to be called Trench Arena. I don't know. So it'll be, again, painting up a force. My hope is to do the underwater raiders. That's what I want. The naval raiders, I think they're cool. Otherwise, I'll do Black Grail probably. And I'll probably end up playing against Sam, which he and I play already, so it's not that big of a deal. But we live close enough together that it's fine. Hate being a downer. I just moved due to wife wanting a divorce and haven't been able to hobby for the last month. I bought a Bamboo Lab A1 so I can design terrain for a game I hope to share soon. Well, I hope things get better. But yeah, the Bamboo Lab A1 is the one I've used, and I like it a lot. And I've been designing some terrain as well. This is sort of a piece that I've done. It is it's one of those electrical boxes, that you put in the wall and then you plug stuff into it or whatever. Electricians use this, but you get this thing at the hardware store. And then I just made a little door. I made a thing on the top here for reasons, just sci-fi stuff. Here's an electronics access area and weird vents and things like that. And now, most recent thing I was working on just before I left to go to Adepticon is I was like, well, what if you don't want this, if you don't want to buy one of these electrical boxes or you can't find it at your local shop or whatever? So I'm basically now making a 3D printable version of this box. So instead of just printing the greeblies and then, gluing it to the box, the idea is I'll, give you all the greeblies so you can put them on whatever you want. You can also put them on one of these if you want, or you could just print the entire thing because it'll be a shape that looks basically just like this, but it'll add more detail to the doohickey. So that's what I'm in the process of now. Start small, grow slowly. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like don't Don't go, oh, I'm going to build a giant skull covered, super castle, whatever. Like, just kind of be like, I'm going to make a little thing. Like, I have this thing over here. This is the first thing I ever designed, as a matter of fact. I still need to paint it. Like, it's primed and it's kind of undercoated a bit, but yeah, I designed this in Tinkercad, and I did glue some extra greeblies and stuff to it. This thing here is from, I don't know, some sort of GW terrain. This is definitely maybe from Necromunda. And then this light up here, that light fixture is like a resin piece from like Cromlech or one of those companies. These parts I actually sculpted. They're in the, in the file or whatever. But yeah, it's just a cool kind of weird bunker thing where, you get there and evidently when you need to fix it, you climb up the ladder and then you open his hatch and you go down inside and then there's probably pipes and steam, who knows. But yeah, that was a relatively simple design, but it's a good place to start. Let's see here. Spending my 3 days Easter weekend working through the backlog of Kickstarters I haven't opened or taken out of their shipping boxes, dealing with a year and change of family stuff. It's been fun. All right, well, then, yeah. Motorbreath Jazz, hello. Just jumping in to say hi. Off to Easter brunch. Nice. It was great to see you at Adepticon Sunday. Chatted with you about C2E2. Hopefully next year you can go, since C2E2 will be at the end of April. Should not overlap with Adepticon. I've been wanting to go to C2E2 forever. So yeah, if it doesn't overlap, then I would definitely like to go for sure. Older Gamers Aging, talking about aging stuff. There you go. I'm lucky enough to live down in Racine, so I could sleep in my own bed every night during Adepticon. That helps with the energy levels. Yeah, I can understand that for sure. Did they ever get you a chair? No. You got time to lean, you got time to clean. That's not a real thing. I don't know, maybe in the future. We're actually having a meeting. I think we're having a factory team online meeting Tuesday morning. So we'll probably do some like post-mortem, like how did the show go, that kind of stuff, and talk about that. And I would be like, maybe it might be kind of nice. I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I'm not like, well, until I, threw my back out with the toilet there, closing the lid. Normally I'm fine. It's just, yeah, I don't think these things are related. I don't think that me standing a lot over Adepticon messed my back up. I don't think so. Watching while playing Crimson Desert. I've seen people play that a little bit online. It looks crazy. What you need is a shillelagh. Assist you with walking with the added benefit of knocking sense into people. I don't know. I think that this is like I said, I got this at, it's got like a rubber foot thing on the end. The guy cut it to my height, and all that kind of stuff, which was nice of him. I mean, that's a big piece of metal. You could definitely probably clock somebody pretty good with it. I don't know. George is a little nervous around it. He doesn't like it when I'm using it. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not going to hit you with this. Let's see here. Hope you get well soon. Me too. I hear tabletop wargaming is a bit more presence at Gen Con. Wonder if it's worth going. I would say of the four genres of tabletop gaming being board gaming, role-playing, collectible card gaming, and tabletop miniatures or whatever, I would say miniatures is the smallest, for sure, at Gen Con. Representation-wise. I would say board games and RPGs are the biggest. Magic, or collectible card games is also a decent size. There's a lot of places like selling singles and buying and this and that and all that kind of stuff. I would say miniatures is probably, now here's the deal though, like if you only like miniatures like me, like you're only into tabletop miniatures, then Gen Con's maybe not necessarily the best idea. I go because I hang out with friends of mine, and also it's a business thing. Like I'm going to talk to people and stuff like that. There's always like, hey, you're gonna be at Gen Con? We could take a meeting at Gen Con, that kind of thing. It's kind of the same with Adepticon, but it's just another time to do it. But if you like more than just one thing, if you like miniature games, but also like RPGs, or miniature games, but you also like board games, well, then it's awesome. Then it's definitely a place to check out. Again, 72,000 people. So if you're like a little with crowds, that's good, Also, it's pretty hard to get hotel rooms like downtown. There's like a lottery and stuff that it's a whole thing. And it's not particularly cheap. Like yeah. So I'm not selling it well, but it's something if you can make it work and you try to get there once, it's a pretty cool time. But it's something to see. But yeah, but if you're like I only like miniature games, then I would tell you to probably try to do Adepticon instead of Gen Con. Had to get reading glasses so I can see well enough to work on my pilot potential last summer. Yeah, I don't usually use that. Like I do have those like magnifier things that I use if I'm looking at something real tiny, but I don't use them as much as I probably should. Jebbies, how you doing? Hello from Wiesbaden, Germany. Did you announce your new game yet? So yeah, the name came out at our podcast not this past Friday, but the Friday before while we were at Adepticon. But the podcast itself doesn't come out till tomorrow morning. So if you want to learn more about it, that's the place. Morning from Delaware, morning from Massachusetts, morning from the Philly suburbs. Time to airbrush prime some Star Wars clone troopers. Nice. Don't feel bad I throw my back out just sneezing. Yeah. Morning from Middle Tennessee. Got chilly today for some weird reason. What's the temperature? 34. It's only maybe going to hit 48 max today. So, but it shouldn't rain. So that'll be good. In theory, the next 2 days it's not going to rain, but like Wednesday, maybe it's going to start raining again. So we've had too much rain. And also we got that like more than 2 feet of snow a couple, like, I don't know, 3 weeks back or whatever it was, just like, and then it melted immediately. I'm like, oh, that's going to not be so good. I think I'll buy just a few miniatures for Starcraft just to play one-page rules firefight. Ooh, that'd be cool. I could see that. Love the Marine miniatures. They should do, so one-page rules has a thing. Let's go look at it. Why don't we do that? One-page-rules.com. I did not know about this. I found out about this at Adepticon. A website. There we go. Okay, so you got your one-page rules here. Let's say we go look at Grimdark Future, and we click on it. There we go. So you go down here to build your army. So you're going to build on Army Forge, right? They have the best online army builder, I think, in the entire industry. They definitely better than GW. So you go on this, and you've got one-page rules official books. So you've got Alien Hives, which are kind of like Tyranids, and Battle Brothers, which are kind of like Space Marines. And you got Blessed Sisters, which are like, man, you can go through most of these and go, oh, sure, I know what that is. Because a lot of them are obviously, 40K adjacent. But there's stuff in here that like 40K doesn't have, like Goblin Reclaimers. I don't know that there's an entire Goblin army in 40K that I've seen, you know what I mean? Infected Colonies, Human Inquisition, Human Defense Forces, basically the Imperial Guard, Machine Cult, yeah. Prime Brothers, that kind of thing. But then there's also Ratmen clans, which there are no Ratmen that I know of, and there's Ratlings, but there's no Ratmen, there's no Skaven in 40K, so that's pretty cool. And there's other guys called Jackals, which are these dog guys, which some people say are basically Kroot, but Kroots are birds. Kroots is birds, that's what I should just make that into a t-shirt. Anyway, that's not the important part. The other thing is there's this tab up here that says Creator Books, and if you click on that, there's all these other manufacturers who make models that you can then go, oh, okay, cool. And they already have rules. So let's say you're into, I don't know, Archvillain Games. I've worked with them in the past. It's been a while, but I've worked with them in the past. I can click on that and then go to View Army Books. And then I can find, what the heck were those guys named? They made these really super cool dudes, and I don't remember what they're called now. Iron Pilgrims, maybe? No. I sculpted with I did a sponsored video with them where I painted up some of these, like, they're kind of like Imperial Guard, maybe a little bit heading into the sort of like Death Corps of Krieg a little bit. But there were like some big ogre-y type of dudes that had big shields that I painted that I really enjoyed. So yeah, there's all kinds of, let's say it's Iron Pilgrims. I don't remember. But then you can go through here and then, you know, like if you go to the STL Minis store, that should go straight to, oh, it's going to go anywhere. Okay. But it's really neat the way that they're just working with other companies who make models. And they're like, look, you know, either you can write up the rules for your guys, or we'll do it, or I don't know, maybe, I don't know. And then, you know, go from there so that you don't just have to go, okay, well, I either have to kit bash my own stuff or use GW stuff. And from what I understand, they're expanding this. Like currently, like I said, you've got official partners. So you've got Archvillain Games and Titan Forge, which are two of the biggest online sculptor folks out there. Titan Forge has gotten so large that they've created several of their own games now, like Bloodfields and stuff like that. And then there's, you know, some of these, I guess they have different levels. Star creators, compatible creators. They got the Daka Daka store on there. Mini Wargaming. What is Mini Wargaming doing? Steel Specters. I don't even know what those. Oh, I bet those are probably from their Ravaged Star, maybe? Could be. Or is Ravaged Star separate in this situation? I don't know. That's a good question. Oh, Papsicles. Papsicles makes all kinds of cool, like cyberpunk stuff, colonial space military, not just another bug hunt. You know what I mean? Better Worlds Corp, the company. So they've got all this stuff that's in there, and I did not know that. I was just like, oh, you either had to make your own or use the stuff that they had in their official books. And I'm not even paying attention to the creator books. And then they also have community books, which there's lots and lots of them made by all kinds of people. That can be whatever, and that's really interesting too. But it's a little bit more like, this is more like crowdsourced to some degree, but it's really neat, I thought. Because yeah, I had a meeting and chatted with Jefferson from One Page Rules. We got to finally get together to talk on Sunday afternoon because we were both busy with stuff. And it was really interesting to find out. So it was really cool. While we're there, we'll just put that there because I'll talk about some of that stuff in a minute. Go back over here. Sneezing, Zerg. I'll be buying the Zerg faction to paint. Well, that's pretty cool. I got the Battletech Force Manual for Mercenaries, going to keep me painting mechs for the next few months. Nice. Found Bolt Action Armored Fury for $25 at a used bookstore. That's pretty cool. One Sherman was assembled and damaged, but I can fix it, while the other two are new on the sprue. Nice. Oh, Tanks for the Apocalypse. Yeah, you could use them for that for sure. Priming and printing, also working on HO scale diorama. Scaling stuff down makes for tiny zombies. True. Salute is awesome. Only been once, but it's been worth it, even though I'm less into gaming and more into painting and collecting. Nice. I've been playing Armored Core 6 recently. Now really into mechs. Is Flames of Orion worth getting into? The art in the free rules is great. I like it. I would say it sits between... It's definitely not like Battletech as far as like information and like density and all that kind of stuff. I would say it sits probably kind of between Battletech and maybe like Steel Rift. I would say it goes in between there a little bit. Warning from Centennial, Colorado. How you doing? Starcraft was not a good game for me. My buddies were much better at it, so they had to carry me in 3-on-3 matches versus the computer, and I don't see Starcraft Minis game building a base. I don't know. I mean, it might. It's hard to say. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I watched a little bit of... there's these guys that own a game store in Canada. I do not remember the name of their channel. But one of the guys is sometimes on Ash's channel, Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games. I don't remember his name either, unfortunately. But anyway, they have this channel, and it's the two of them, and they're in their shop, and they're just talking about stuff. And very frequently, I feel like they're just, I don't know. I feel like sometimes their thumbnails and their titles are a little, maybe more than just provocative, you know what I mean? And then you watch the video, and you're like, oh, they're kind of, you know, whatever. Anywho, they did one recently about, I don't know, like, are there too many games or something about indie games or something? I don't know. And they were talking about like, I mean, and obviously this is all coming from them as store owners. And I get it. Store owners are behind the eight ball. Store owners are very frequently one person shops, sometimes two if you're lucky. So you got to be the guy who, cleans the bathroom and who also orders the product and who also puts stuff on the shelves and who also like, sells deals with customers and all that stuff. But it's weird. Their attitude is always like, this would be so much better if we could just sell one product and everybody bought it. And I'm like, yeah, why would I do that? Like as a game enjoyer, if I don't enjoy the main game that is decided, this is the one that everybody should play. And then that way we don't have to look at other stuff. I don't know. The attitude sometimes when I watch some of those videos is that they're like really unhappy about being store owners. And I'm like, I don't, okay, well, there's a thing you can do about that. I don't know. It's just weird. But I don't remember if they might have talked a little bit about Starcraft in that too. And I don't know. I think some people, I'm not saying you, Terrence, but I think some people are like, well, if it doesn't beat Games Workshop, what's the point? And I'm like, it's because some people just want to play something different. And I don't know that that's the goal is always to beat Games Workshop. And I think if the folks at Archon are pretty happy doing okay sales and not necessarily becoming the big new hotness, then that's fine. I mean, I think there's space for smaller companies to be able to make stuff that people who are interested in. Ugh, the heck did I get in my coffee cup? I don't know. I think that if you're really happy with StarCraft because you loved playing the game and you think the models are cool and it's a fun game that you're enjoying, I think it could be almost like a board game in that. And when I say board game, I mean you buy it and then you have it. You know what I mean? Like, sure, they'll probably come out with more stuff and everything like that, but it's not like if you buy a bunch of stuff, like you buy a 2-player starter and you add on some stuff and you've got this fun game and then you enjoy playing it from time to time, even though maybe the game is dead now because they don't make stuff for it, they don't sell stuff for it anymore. It's still, yeah, I don't know. I like there being lots and lots of different weird stuff out there. You know what I mean? That's what Vince and I do. So, and I think Archon's got the ability, especially because they're making their own plastics, obviously, that they can produce that stuff and just keep cranking things out. And yeah, I don't know about staying power. That's a good question. I mean, are you going to see it in a lot of stores? Maybe not. So will it spread to all corners of the globe? Probably not as well. But yeah, I don't know. You also get into the whole license thing. You know what I mean? Like Vince and I just recently did an episode on the Snarlcast about licensing. We're not super into it, but it does sometimes work for a while. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing too, is that part of the issue is you can't keep making new stuff because StarCraft had what StarCraft had. And very frequently, the license holder is not going to be like, oh, yeah, sure, just make up a bunch of new crap that wasn't in the game. That's fine. It'd be like the folks at Star Wars going, yeah, make up a bunch of new ships. Why not? That's cool. Licensors don't like that generally. So, but then again, if it's all about we constantly have to make new stuff like Games Workshop does, then licensing is a problem. But if you're like, we can produce things, put them out there, and then the new stuff that we do from time to time when we just, keep supporting the stuff that we already have is maybe new campaigns, things like that, new box sets that take some of the models and put them together in different ways or whatever. I don't know. It's like because they did the He-Man game too. Well, there's only so many He-Mans or whatever, you can't make up new ones because the show was the show, I guess. So I don't know. It's always interesting. Watching you while I paint 40K Fulgrim for a commission, then working on Marvel Crisis Protocol Terrain for a store commission. Nice. Keep him busy. Had a great time at Adepticon and the Snarling Badger live cast. Well, I'm glad that's to hear. Sadly, I got the con crud really bad this year and I'm still recovering. I luckily did not, knocking on wood, seem to get any kind of illness that way. So that's good. But I know some people did talk about it, having some illness. Morning from Quebec. How you doing? I think I'll just buy a few miniatures for Starcraft just to play one-page rules firefight. Yeah. The Marines are kind of cool looking, I'm not going to lie. Just epoxy glued the last piece of my FDM painted Grasping Hive, or printed, I'm assuming. Grasping Hive Titan from one-page rules. It will be fun to paint. Nice. Keep in mind the journey from Army Painter HQ to Salute by train would make an excellent work vacation work opportunity. Fly into Denmark, fly back from Heathrow. Well, could be. I think we might go back to Denmark next year, us in the factory team. I think we're maybe trying to plan a trip because right now, Army Painter's moving into a much larger facility, or they have moved. They're either moving or have moved into a much larger facility. They had been in the same place for a good long time, and Adam from Army Painter was telling me that when he first started traveling over there, they'd be coming from like the train station or whatever to the main office, and they would drive past this big place, and they would like joke about how like, well, someday we're going to move into that place. And it was like never real. And then now that's where they've moved into. So they've moved into a whole new place and everything like that. So for us, it'll be cool because we only remember the old place because we were there in 2024. So yeah. And now the team's bigger too and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, in theory, I think we're trying to plan to go over there again in 2027, I think. Let me see here. You're a hero amongst cats. Well, I am frequently amongst cats. I don't know if I'm a hero necessarily. Pacific Northwest, how you doing, Katini? Would you consider making content about Gundam Assemble when it releases in October? I'm really looking forward to it. I've never been a Gundam guy. I was a little, well, there was a part of me that was surprised that they didn't have anything at Adepticon, like Bandai or whatever, just was like, nope, just didn't have anything. Like they had a booth at Gen Con last year, a good sized booth at Gen Con last year, and nothing to sell. Like, well, that's not completely true. It was weird. They had a booth at Gen Con last year with just a single dude in it. And then there was like some stuff to look at, and it was a pretty booth. They spent money. And basically they had like a big pop-up sign, and they're like, if you do this and this and share this on Twitter or whatever, and then show us you shared it on your Twitter, then we'll give you this free promo card or whatever for the card game. And you couldn't buy the card game in the booth. You could buy the card game out in the gaming floor area where the actual gaming is happening. I don't know why, but you could. And then, but you couldn't, I don't think, get the plastics at the time. You could only get the trading card game. It was crazy. I don't understand it. But they did have a bunch of the models to look at, like in these cases and stuff like that. I'll be honest, like I said, never been into Gundam. Also, the game seems to be about, it's a hex game, which I'm not a fan of hex games generally. Like, I like my miniatures games to use tape measures and like not have hexes and grids and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's for me. I'm sure there's a zillion D people who will talk about it. I just don't know that it's, I feel like it would be insincere, maybe is the right word. I don't know. I was going to say incongruous, but that doesn't make any sense. Good morning from ATL. How you doing? Nap God. Hello from Northwest Indiana, Toy Painter. How you doing? Greeting from Des Moines. How you doing? Pensacola, Florida. Morning from Oxford. Wish it was feasible for me to go to Adepticon. Looking forward to UK Games Expo next month. Yeah, when is that? May or June? Hello from Munich. Good morning and happy Easter from Los Angeles, California. Hi from Norway. Any Trench Crusade videos planned in the near or far future? You mentioned you had some plans regarding your Black Grail units. Would love to see how you're going to paint them. Yeah. Sam and I talked about making some more Trench Crusade content because we're both on board. We both enjoy the game. There was a lot of stuff going on at Adepticon that was Trench Crusade related. Like I mentioned, there was the Trench Crusade preview thing, which was really cool. And he and I are both going to be involved in the Trench Crusade Arena or whatever we're calling it. What else? I definitely want to do some more stuff with that. I'm either going to be doing Black Grail next, or potentially, if I get the plastics soon, then I might be doing Naval Raiders. So we'll see how that goes. I've bought the STLs for Black Grail, but I need to build an army in the army builder first and figure out what I need, and then get Dave to print that stuff and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. It was the worst reveal show I've seen. Oh, the GW one? It was just so many different problems as far as technical stuff. Like, people that were there were like, yeah, I couldn't hear it, we talked about this a little bit in Vince's response show after the show, because basically after the reveal and all that kind of stuff, then me and Vince and a bunch of other folks went up to his hotel room and did Warhammer Weekly on Wednesday there, and basically kind of did a response to what was going on. And it's like, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. You know what I mean? Like, they've got a market cap of somewhere around over $7 billion American. And I guess they just rely on the PA system at the convention center or whatever, and they don't do a dry run. You know what I mean? Like, because like the what do you call it? The PowerPoint thing wasn't working very well. And like I said, the audio was jank and just didn't work. And I'm like, I don't know, if you got that much money, you could pay somebody locally in Milwaukee who are like smart and like audio people to come and set that all up and get it ready to go. So you just got to show up and plug in and go. But they just depend on the people that work for them, who are not audio professionals, by the way. Like, you're making like the people who are just there, working for GW and aren't necessarily and you're just like, oh yeah, make it happen. I mean, I don't know. It's a bummer. I feel bad that they don't get, I feel bad that some of the folks they have to come over there from England don't get supported properly when they have to do these big shows. And then, everybody sees it, obviously, because it's like the big announcement thing that happens at Adepticon for the most part. Yeah. And this is the thing, is this is not the first time. So that's also a bummer. I don't know. Working on some Starcraft minis today. Nice. Morning from Albuquerque, back from Adepticon, and work on clearing my desk from all this swag so I can work on projects I am inspired by after amazing first-time experience with that con. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Absolutely. Yeah, it's an awesome convention. It really, really is. It's my favorite of the year. And that's the bummer, is that now it's like I'm going to go to Gen Con in August. I'm not going to Nova, which is a bummer. And then I'm hoping to go to PAX Unplugged, which is in early December. But yeah, I'm not going to Las Vegas Open because it's the same weekend as Dragonfall. So I guess I'm going to Dragonfall in early October. I just don't feel like I'm going to as many shows this year, which is fine, but I don't know. I am going to, in theory, sometime in May, I'm going to something in the Minneapolis area, maybe. It's called Renegade 28, but I've not had great luck finding it online. When I find out more, I'll let you folks know if you're interested. But yeah, in theory, sometime in May, early-ish May, I think, I'm going to some convention. I think it's in Minneapolis or near Minneapolis. I need to find out more. I chatted with the person at the show at Adepticon, but I really need to nail that down. It would be awesome if they had a website. They do, kind of, but it's not for, it's a whole thing. I need to get that nailed down. Checking in from Santa Rosa, California. I don't usually get to catch these shows due to time zone differences and church obligations on Sunday morning, so this is nice. Well, there you go. I asked about the carcass front models being sold separately. They said that they should be available alone by the end of the year. That makes sense, yeah. I mean, I think it would be really weird if they didn't, Even GW is like, yeah, we're eventually going to sell that stuff separately. They do it with, the big kill team, 2-player things and all that kind of stuff. They all sell it, eventually separately. The thing that was really cool about, and this is silly, but the thing that was really cool about the Trench Crusade preview, so it was held in this room that Army Painter had for the majority of the convention. And it was set up for painting classes most of the time, this room. But there was a time on Saturday, Friday, or Thursday. I don't know. There was a day where there was also a creator council thing that happened there. So it was, let me see if I can remember everybody. It was Walter's Workshop in Orange. It was Brent from Goobertown Hobbies. It was me. It was, shoot, now I can't think of his first name. Hoodguard on like Twitch and, not Twitch, well, maybe on Twitch, but like on TikTok and Shorts and stuff like that. But I can't remember his first name now. Dang it. Anyway, super nice guy. And then I think next over there was Stephanie from Orion's Belt Miniatures. So we're all content creators that, all this kind of stuff. And it was like a Q&A and everything, yada, yada. So then we had to set up chairs for that and everything and move things around. Anyway, that was also the room that they decided, we're going to have the, because we were partnered with them with Trench Crusade, we're like, hey, if you want to do the preview, you can do it in this room. So before everyone came, we had to move out all of the tables, that were the painting tables. They got lights on them and they got like, whenever you go to a convention these days, if they've got areas for painting, they take those puppy pads. You know what I mean? If you ever had a puppy and you put those like white pads with the blue rim around them, you set them down there and that's where the dog goes to the bathroom or whatever. Everyone just blue painter tapes those down to the tables now, and that's where you paint. So if you spill your water or whatever, it doesn't go all over, which is a brilliant idea. We do it at TMX now. Anyway, so we moved all those tables out, me and Adam and maybe a couple other factory team folks. And then we set up all the chairs that we had because they brought us extra chairs so people could sit and watch this preview and everything. After the preview was done, and it was a lot of people who like Trench Crusade. There was a lot of maybe your more slightly DIY type kind of punk rock folks in there and that kind of stuff too. But after it was done and everything, the lights come on and everything, Adam from Army Painter, he's like, yeah, I got to set up, we're going to have to set this back up again because they got classes again tomorrow morning to teach Sunday morning. So I'm like, oh, I'll help. And he's like, oh, you don't need to help. And I'm like, you're not going to do this by yourself. So we start taking the chairs down, and then putting them, stacking them over here and all that kind of stuff. And like maybe the second short trip, I turned back around and now there's like 5 or 6 people who were just here for the show, just here for the preview and stuff like that, who were like, oh, what, we're stacking chairs? Okay. And they're just like, start helping, and then like, so you stack another chair, like come back. And now there's like a dozen people. And like we moved, I don't know, it's probably 100 chairs. We got them out of the way, like in 3 minutes because everyone's like, oh, those guys are moving chairs. And they just started helping because that's what you do. You know what I mean? But it was really nice to see that kind of help. And then just because we moved the tables out into the hall, kind of out of this little side hall. So we were just bringing them in through the side door, but setting them back in the right spot and all that kind of stuff. And just these folks were just bringing in, and like the whole thing was done in like less than 10 minutes because of the helping. And that was very cool. And I just really enjoyed like that the folks that were there for that thing were just like, oh yeah, we're doing stuff now. And it just, if we all do this, it'll be done quicker. And it was very cool. So went to a local hobby show last weekend since I could never go to Adepticon, bought 16 plastic kits. Ooh, fancy. How available is X-Wing 2nd edition in US? I'm in Poland and it is quite scarce and wondering about if I should look overseas. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't see it in stores as much as I used to. My local store, I know, got rid of all of his stuff, and I think he's been putting it on eBay. Did they stop making it? Maybe they did. Second good morning from Albuquerque. I've got the Post-Adepticon energy to get stuck in on a few new projects. Nice. Love the videos, Uncle Adam. Well, thank you. Your videos and podcast fueled a passion for indie games, so thanks. Just wanted to say happy Easter. Going to watch the video tomorrow when I'm not surrounded by family. Gotcha. Makes sense. I think it's called a gang box. Very Necromunda sounding, indeed. Happy time of day. Won't be able to stay. Heading to work. Absolutely. I'm way behind in the chat, as per usual. Let's see here. Finally finished a batch of 17 models from 4 different game systems last week. Nice. Don't forget to hit the like button, everyone. Sure, that's helpful. When will Starcraft hit retail? I don't know. That's a good question. Back stuff is the worst. Stay strong. Yeah. Do you like Warhammer? I used to. I got into GW stuff in general back in the very early 90s. My friend Peter had a first edition copy of, well, it's just a copy of, because they hadn't made a second edition yet, I don't think. But he had Space Hulk. And so that's where I first learned about Space Marines and Tyranids and the Emperor and all that crap. And then in 5th edition, so sometime in the mid 2000s is when I actually got into playing 40K. I started with Tau, and then I sold the Tau because they were easy to paint, and that was cool, but they weren't like fun to like kit bash and like kind of convert, is what they used to be called back in the day. And so I got into Chaos and Chaos Space Marines and started doing that and everything like that. I played 5th, I played 6th, I quit in 7th, started back up in 8th, played a little bit of 9th, not very much, kind of quit again. 10th came out, started playing Combat Patrol in 10th with my friend Sam. Haven't played at all, not 40K, probably in at least it might be 2 years, but it's at least a year, but might be 2 years. I'm generally not into big army games. I kind of prefer small skirmish games, where you've got 5-10 models per side as opposed to a whole big army. So you'd say, well, Kill Team. I loved Kill Team back when it first came out in 2018. Like that initial version of Kill Team, loved it. Made tons of videos about it, played it all the time. And then the version came out in 2021, and I really didn't like it. It's not. I don't like that system, the new system. And then the version that came out in 2024 is basically the same thing with some tweaks. Still don't like it. Got really into Warcry. Warcry is very cool. And then now they've basically killed Warcry. So I don't really play anything from Games Workshop right now. Every once in a while, I'll buy some models if I'm like, hey, these are really cool. I can use these in something else, but even that. So yeah, I'm not super big into it right now. Building a Boromite Gates of Antares army. We still play it in the lead belt. Nice. That's pretty cool. That is an impressive walking stick. If I had to, I could maybe defend the home with it. That's about as far as that goes. Do you like Star Wars? Do you wear wigs? Star Wars is cool. I played X-Wing for a good amount, and then they made second edition or whatever, and then I didn't play that anymore. I just kept playing first edition with my friend Eric. I play otherwise what? I have a Star Wars Legion army, Empire, technically, right? Like with the stormtroopers and all that crap. But now they've again, done a new edition, and so now my army is, I got to go through and fix it because it's not the right number of models and all that kind of stuff. This window is bothering me. I'm trying to make it the right height, and it won't do it. Okay. Cool. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. Didn't get into Shatterpoint. Didn't like the scale. Even though it's a skirmish game and I should like it, but I just didn't like the scale. Also didn't like, with Shatterpoint, there's so many little tokens and the cards and all that stuff, and it starts to feel a little bit more board gamey to me. I kind of like my miniatures games to not, like, yeah, some tokens to track stuff once in a while. That makes total sense. But when it's like tons of tokens for every potential option and state, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's not for me. But I watch Star Wars movies. I liked Andor. That was really good. Gen Con posts their events online. You can sort of search and see if there's enough of whatever you want to see. Yeah, as they get closer to that, then they do put all that stuff online. They've got a pretty decent website. It's gigantic, so have a good reason and target of your gaming intentions, or you will get overwhelmed. Oh, Gen Con. Yes, it is. Yes. Have you ever been to or have considered going to Spiel? I've never been. If I had a business reason to go, I could see myself going, maybe. Be interesting. I do like Europe. Might be going to Sturgis this year, so unfortunately no game cons for me. Well, I mean, you could technically play some miniatures at Sturgis, couldn't you? Are there any motorcycle miniature games? I don't think so. There was a miniature game called Skate 28 that was like a skateboard miniature game, which was, it was, it's like a little indie thing. But the cool thing was is that in their booth, it was part of the Blaster booth. So Blaster magazine's usually got a game in it every quarter or whatever. Arsenal, Arsenal's a big one that they did. Anyway, Skate 28, I think I took a picture of it, but I can't I could, but it's a pain in the butt. Or no, I didn't. I took some video of it. I didn't take a picture of it. But what they did is they took a skateboard and then they built a little mini skate park on the skateboard, and then they covered everything in graffiti. So there was like little 28 millimeter like guys on skateboards doing skateboard moves or whatever, but they were on a skate park that was on a giant skateboard, except it was a normal size skateboard because miniatures. But it was neat. I liked it. Let's see here. Threw my back out last week also. Man, it's no fun. Up until last summer, I never needed any visual aid. My close-up vision had noticeably degraded, just part of aging. Yeah, it's I had my eye doctor tell me one time that pretty much everybody eventually needs like readers. Even if you had perfect eyesight your entire life, you hit about 40 or 45, and your lens in your eye, which gets squished by eye muscles to make it so that you can focus close, just everybody, as you get older, you get to a point where your lens in your eye becomes a little bit less flexible. And so the muscles can't squeeze it as hard. So even people who've never worn glasses their entire life, as they get older, they start doing this, where they're like trying to read it and they have to keep moving a thing. They can't get too close. And they're like, what does this say? And that's why they sell readers like at the end caps at Walgreens. And they're like, $6 or whatever. And there's zillions of them because everybody kind of eventually heads down that road. Let's see here. Morning from chilly Metal, Tennessee. Been to an EMT school, and my pile of potential has built up. Next week's going to be back to the hobby. Nice. Hot take, GW Space Marines look way better, so I'll just proxy if I want to play a game of Starcraft. Sure, I mean, they're considerably smaller. Even the Primaris guys, I think, are smaller than these Terrans, I think. It's a good question. I haven't seen them side by side. One Page Rules is finally going to be making models for like Battle Brothers or Prime Brothers, or I'm not sure which, but maybe they're starting with Battle Brothers. I don't know. But they're basically finally making power armor. And they've been showing off some, I think, on their Facebook page maybe. And I'm like, I like the way these guys look. I thought they were pretty good. And they don't particularly look like, they're just, GW guys. Like they're power armor, but power armor isn't, exclusive to just Space Marines. But I'm glad they're finally doing that, because when they made the Human Defense Force, which is basically kind of the Guard, like those models are really cool. I love those guys. Mantic has a sci-fi rat army. True. The Vermin. Let's see here. Adepticon looked rad. It was rad. It was a lot of fun. Hey, Molly. How you doing? Let's see here. Just arriving. Looking forward to the podcast tomorrow to learn more about the new game. Nice. Love StarCraft. Played way too much of it, but seeing the models makes me kind of realize I don't like most of the unit design. Hydra lists are dope, though. Well, that's... Ate too much chocolate today, as is tradition. Well, yeah. Lords of War. Oh, yeah. That's the name of there. Yeah. I just got here and I want to shout Lords of War too. There you go. It's all taken care of. How you doing, noob? Let's see here. They do some decent work expressing the challenges of being a retailer. That I don't disagree, for sure. I agree that they don't seem to be enjoying their lot as retailers. Yeah. I disregard all store owner YouTube channels. It's like making a commentary on the games industry, but based only on my local community of a dozen tabletop wargamers. gamers and store owners have very different, in my opinion, very different goals. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's the way these things work. There's a lot of gamers that just want to come and play in the store so that they have a place to play and they don't have to clean their living room or whatever to have people over. You know, sometimes you're just like, I don't know these guys that well. I don't want them in my house rummaging through my stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want them using my bathroom. Or maybe they're like, I don't want to go to this guy's house and use his bathroom. And it's all these things. So you go to the store. I mean, I get it. It makes sense. Or a gaming club if you do that overseas or whatever. But around here, generally, you're going to the local store. But the problem is there's a lot of people that go to the local store to play, but they don't buy stuff there. You know what I mean? And I don't have problems with store owners. I don't have problems with the idea of retail. I really don't. I feel if you're going to play at those stores, then you need to support them because they will go away otherwise. This is one of the reasons why I probably have 20 of those GW painting handles, because I would go play at my local store and then I'd be like, well, I was in here, you know, playing the game, and I'm leaving. I don't need any more miniatures. I'll buy a painting handle, because back in the day they used to be like $8. Now they're like a lot more. Anyway, long story short is there's a lot of people who go into stores who are like, yeah, I would buy this stuff here, but I can get it way cheaper online. And you're like, well, then, so you're going to buy it online and then come in here and like breathe up all my air and use my bathroom and play here at the store and not buy anything, like not even snacks or whatever. I mean, like there's this always kind of like butting heads between the players and the store owners, and I totally get it. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a store owner. It seems like just a real uphill battle, especially these days. But all that to say, I do bump into store owners from time to time who get like angry that new stuff comes out. They're like, no, everyone should just play 40K and that's it, because then I can just buy that and it sells and that'll be great. And then I'm like, well, sorry, that's not the way it's going to work. You know what I mean? If I go into a game store and all they carry is Warhammer, then I'm like, oh, okay, it's not a particularly good game store to me. You know what I mean? Like if I go in there and if I see like Wargames Atlantic stuff, or I see some Stargrave or Frostgrave models, I'm like, hey, sweet, that's cool. But if it's just, nope, we just carry Warhammer and Warhammer accessories, I'd be like, well, that's not necessarily for me. I don't see Starcraft being a long-term game. It seems to have limited scope. I mean, being a licensed game, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, when you only, again, have as many models and units that were in the video game, you know what I mean? It's a good question. I don't know. Like I said, Vince and I talked about this recently. When you work with a license, you have a finite number of stuff. GW or any other company that makes their own thing can just keep making their own thing. They can be like, hey, guess what? New types of Space Marines. Hey, guess what? New Eldars. I don't know, whatever, you know, and they can just keep cranking things out. But when you've used up all of the Star Wars ships and you're like, there are no more Star Wars ships to make. Well, now what? I don't know. Paint them different colors, maybe? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's tough. I can see it being a game to introduce people to miniature wargaming or run convention games with like Starship Troopers. Yeah, could be. Starcraft has a good rule set and the minis are awesome. People at this point appear to be negative because they don't want to give it a chance. Archon isn't going anywhere. No, Archon's not going anywhere. They're definitely not fly-by-night in any fashion. They do great work. But the concern, of course, is that, yeah, at some point they're going to have made all the models that were in all the games. And then what do they do? Because these companies always need to keep making new stuff. You know what I mean? Sorry, my nose is itchy. So yeah, I can see that concern. It doesn't it makes sense to me. Starship Troopers was an interesting choice for a minis game based on the movies and the follow-up animated movies. I think I had some Starship Troopers miniatures that I bought that were already like deeply discounted because but that was a long time ago. They were not great plastics. Starcraft is an opportunity to get 3 armies on the table for the price of most of a 40K army. It's worth a look for that alone. But they can't make any more armies either. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing about 40K too, or just any game where you're making it up, is you can be like, hey, look at this new army of dudes. I don't know, tentacle boys, whatever. You know, that's fine. but there's just the 3 armies in Starcraft. I wouldn't think that Blizzard would let them just make up a 4th army, right? So I feel like it's got a relatively limited runway just because of the license. Again, Star Trek, Star Wars, Starship Troopers, like all these different licenses have a limited number of things that you can build as a company. So you get to a point where you're like, well, that was the last model, now what? So yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I'm assuming Archon's smart enough, and this is also not their first rodeo. They did the He-Man game, and they've done some other stuff, I think, also that's been licensed. So I don't know. I recently discovered that Italy model are making 28 millimeter World War II tanks with Warlord game stamp on them, and they have lovely B1 this French. Oh yeah, there you go. I'll stick with Blood Bowl for the foreseeable future. That's fine. I think it's one of those things where they're like, again, I don't know that it's a limited game. It is in that they only have so many things they can make. It'll just be interesting to see if it's just something that they just put out as much as possible, then just keep it in stock. You know what I mean? Like that's also a thing. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with just making a game and keeping it in stock so people who are interested can get into it. But GW has trained people, like, and I've told this story a bunch of times, the day we launched Reign in Hell, I had people in the comments being like, so what's the first expansion? And I was like, we have no plans to make an expansion. They're like, oh, so it's a dead game. And you're like, it came out today, first of all. And secondly, no. GW, just because GW is like, well, we got to constantly be making new stuff doesn't mean everybody has to. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I could see them like producing everything that's from the video games, because there were 2 video games, right? And some expansions. There was like the Brood War maybe and stuff like that. So they could crank out a bunch of stuff and then be done and then just keep that stuff in stock. And then if you want to get into it, you can do that and all that kind of stuff. And because it's not their only title, then they'll just eventually start working on something else. If they just keep it in stock though, like I think the He-Man stuff is still in stock. GW has tried to train us that everything needs to be new all the time. You need to keep cranking out new. And I think that maybe you don't. Maybe you could just produce a bunch of stuff, just keep it in stock, and then put out, like I said, campaign expansions and things like that or whatever. And then that can just keep the game kind of alive. But it doesn't need to be constantly new plastic, new plastic, new plastic. Just keep the plastic. Like, it would be awesome if GW stuff was in stock. They only put out the new stuff, and then you're like, yeah, but I need to buy some Predator tanks for my... And they're like, no, dog, I haven't made those in years. And you're like, cool. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Conflict 47 may be curious, but their vampires and werewolves did not fire up my imagination. Well, Archon have said that they have enough model releases to last 10 years. That seems long. I guess I should take a look at that. I don't know how they're going to do that, unless they're just going to spread them out like every 2 years, like what's the new models, but probably not. I did visit Lords of War, nice shop with extensive painting supplies and a wide variety of kits and games, but for me, it's too much of a hassle to get to their location, driving to the city. Sure. I know there's a lot of painting stuff behind them when they're doing their videos, so they do, and they carry army painters, so I'm like, good on you. Stopped watching Lords of War. I find them too negative, and they often just assume all stores are the same and think just like them, and players are stupid or ignorant. Like, don't own a shop then. Well, afternoon from Erskine, Scotland, at my nephew's christening. Oh, that sounds fun. Got an orc army for half price at a Mantic mystery box. Oh, that's pretty cool. He means Masters of the Universe. What did I say? He-Man? I mean, He-Man's, that's close enough. I was thrilled to find out Rael Partha Legacy picked up the old Rapham ranges. So those classics will be available somewhere else now? Cool. William Adley, how you doing? It wasn't for my lack of trying. Re-Gundam Assemble. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, William here, a.k.a. Hank, he and Matthias run Adepticon. So what I think what's being said here is that Hank was trying to get the Gundam Assemble folks to come to Adepticon. I don't. I'm wondering if it's just like they're such a big company that they only see stuff like, like Gen Con or whatever. I don't know. It is odd though. Because yeah, like I said, they had this big booth. It was easily, was it 20 by 20 or was it 30 by 30? It was a good size booth. And there was one dude in there. And he was just handing out these cards if you did their weird little social media hootenanny. And otherwise, it was just like screens and like cases, and that was it. And I'm like, man, this was expensive. And you're just handing, okay, So they got money. They got money all for days. But I could, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, for me, I'm not particularly interested in the game because A, never been into Gundams, never just, and secondly, it's a hex-based game, which I suspected last year at Gen Con because they had like pictures and like marketing photos, and I'm like, it looks like they're playing that on a hex board. I'm like, eh. And plus, also the models that they were showing off were all on hex bases. Did I shoot video or did I only shoot? Did I shoot video or did I shoot any pictures? I don't remember. Scrolling back to late mid-August. I don't think I shot any photos from that booth. I think I only shot video, and that's on a different hard drive. So no, I do have pictures of, I don't know why I don't shoot enough photos. I just shoot video, which makes sense because the videos work better on a video channel, but still, anyway. Let's see here. I wonder if Adepticon is too small for Bandai. I was just wondering that myself. I don't know. You wouldn't think so, but because it's like so targeted that like those are the folks you'd want to talk to. But I did buy a pack of Legions Imperialis unit cards at Lords of War. Jim Crimmins, happy Sunday. Home after a week away. Looking forward to hobby time tonight after groceries. Nice. Boshak, how you doing? More interested in the models for Gundam assembled in the game. Depends on how expensive they turn out to be. Yeah. I mean, I assume they can't be super expensive because Gundams aren't that expensive when you compare them, especially to GW stuff. Bandai having a miniatures game and not being an Adepticon was a missed opportunity at an epic level, especially with 12,000 plus ticketed attendees. Small is only relative. Yes, I agree. Totally agree. I like Lords of War. Great guys. Their channel is maybe a bit too straight talk for the average hobbyist, but I enjoy it. Nice. Obviously understand different viewpoints. Oh yeah, I mean it's interesting to get that viewpoint. Obviously, so many YouTube channels can be specifically like, game. I was going to say fanboys, but I said Game Boys for some reason, which is not like I like games and I'm a boy, but Game Boys are the with the thumbs. Fanboys who are like talking about things that they like or whatever, that kind of stuff, and there is reality that also rears its ugly head, and you're like, oh well, the reason we can't carry every game is because because we can't. It's the same thing. Like people ask me sometimes about like games. They're like, what do you think about this game? And I'm like, I've just now heard about it. I don't know. I know about a lot of stuff, but I can't know about everything. And it's the same type of thing. Stores can't carry everything. I totally get that. But I go into successful stores that carry a lot of stuff. And so it can be done. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's it takes a lot of effort. And sometimes it's also, that store's been around for a long time and they've grown a bunch or whatever. But yeah, every store is different. It's interesting. When we were first messing around with Game 4, the app that we designed, I went to a lot of stores here in Wisconsin. Like I went and visited and then like interviewed store owners at like, I don't know, 20 or 30 different stores around the area over the course of half a year. And you'd go into some stores and like it would be like they'd have a staff of people and there's like all this stuff going on and everything. And it was like, and everything was super dialed in. And then you go into other stores that looked like somebody's, closet or whatever, and there was like the one person who works there, and it was hard to find them behind all the stuff, yeah, you had everything in between. Didn't get much work done this past week, been mostly trying to find spots for stuff that I got at Heritage Con. Oh, that's cool. Just came back from my son's rugby game, and I am building a few more figures for Stargrave in sunny South Wales. Well, how you doing, Nick? Alberta, Canada, finally happy to finally catch a stream. Absolutely. Heard they tested the audio 5 minutes before. Well, you know. They dry ran it 3 times, really. Man, I just wish that, like I said, I wish that they would like get their, like I said, get like a staff, not a staff. I wish that they would get like, there's got to be somebody local in the Milwaukee area that's like sound guys. Like when you have a show, like when you have like a band and all that kind of stuff, at bigger venues, like if you're just playing at a bar, usually, like I've been in bands, you set up all your own crap and there you go. The bigger, fancier bands would bring their own sound guy, and it would usually be somebody they paid or whatever. And I kind of wish that they would do some of that, but it's always something, you know. After the technical difficulties at the reveal show, GW threw the venue right under the bus. Well, that's a bummer. They shouldn't do that. This is the second time in a row this has happened in a different venue from the first. Yeah, like I said. Steps are in the work to resolve things for better experience at the preview. Yeah, like the preview is a big deal. We were, I mean, for a lot of people, I wasn't there. We were watching it on a phone. The Army Painter, we were eating pizza. We had ordered pizzas. We were at the Hyatt Regency, whatever, like in the lobby area. And so we were there. We had ordered pizzas because we were all hungry. And then Tyler, I think it was either Tyler or Oz. One of them like basically had their phone and we had propped it up and we were kind of watching and talking about stuff and everything like that. I'm like, oh, look at that thing. So we didn't really at the time know much about we knew that the feed dropped a couple of times, or at least early on it dropped maybe once or whatever for their Twitch thing. But we didn't know what the audio stuff, because we were just kind of watching it. But then we were talking when I was coming back over there, and like it was Vince and a bunch of the guys who had been at that thing, and they were like, ugh. And so, yeah, that's where that all came from. Sorry about your back being hurt. Well, I apologize. I appreciate that. You might need to start a good weight program. Weightlifting is the only thing that's helped my back. I do need to exercise more. You're not wrong. But like I said, it doesn't happen super frequently. Last time that this happened was, I think, 22 or 23, so it's been a minute. Checked out those Parasite models you picked up. That series looks really interesting. Yeah, like I said, Archon makes some really cool stuff, too, that's not, licensed stuff. Everyone's experienced the IT guy at work getting called in to fix a meeting presentation that can't start. How does GW not plan for that? I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I had a dream last night that Warhammer had an actual theme park with roller coasters, animatronics, all kinds of attractions. Also, greetings from San Diego. Well, greetings to you as well. I would like to see like a bunch of like Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza, animatronics, like at a theme park, but they're all like, I don't know, Dark Eldar or something or whatever, like playing songs, and then you eat pizza and watch them. I think that'd be a hoot. Many hands make light work. It's true. It's always nice when you see people reach out to help each other. Absolutely. Even at Adepticon, I only saw X-Wing things that were being sold over by the Bits area. I think there was an X-Wing tournament going on. I'm pretty sure. X-Wing is discontinued by the manufacturer. That's what I thought. When will you wear wigs? Exactly. Have you seen Machinen Krieger in 15 millimeter? No, I don't know what that is. Defending the home, you say? Well, sometimes, I don't know, zombies. Maybe not zombies. Where was I? There we go. Taking away the list building aspect and Kill Team made the local community drop off hard. Yeah, a lot of people, I think people who are into the more competitive play, that's always the excuse that I hear. And excuse is maybe the wrong word. The reasoning. is that people are like, well, but now it's a much more balanced game. And I'm like, that doesn't make it more fun though, at least for me. So that's why and I've had a lot of people who tell me, no, you're wrong. You should enjoy this game. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. I mean, I really enjoyed the old one and that's cool, but the new one, And they're like, no, you really should enjoy the new game. I'm like, I'm not going to, sorry. But the reasoning is mainly the list building and well, just some other things. It's lately I feel like Games Workshop specifically, their rules are just hat on a hat on a hat. You're like, well, we got these, and then there's these stratagem cards and these tactics, and there's too much. If they could just dial it back some, and they won't, and that's fine, whatever. But that's why I generally like more indie rules, because indie rules will, in many situations, be like, look, we're just going to dial this back a little bit because we all got stuff to do. You know what I mean? Try Blackout. Oh, I've got Blackout. I've got 4 forces painted. Do I have the Blackout book? Geez, I thought I did. I have a... Badlands right here, the older version. Ow. Somewhere I have the instruction booklet, but I thought I had it on my desk, but I don't think I do. I've got a lot of crap on my desk right now. I need to be cleaning that up again. Walk around with your stick and hold it up at crosswalks. All right, sure. Going from the Twin Cities, listening while working on a small city's worth of buildings for Legions Imperialis. Nice. Andor Season 1 was hella good. Oh, yeah. Minis on a 58 Harley. Well, like you could magnetize them to the tank, couldn't you? Probably. Unless those tanks are like aluminum or something, then you can't. Playing with war dollies at Sturgis would not be conducive to self-preservation. I don't know. I think there'd be a faction of folks who'd be like, hey, what's that all about? You know what I mean? I don't know. I have a couple of the DreamPod 9 Machine Krieger Walker models, M1 Longstreet. Oh, yeah, I do. What did they call that game? Because Heavy Gear was the main game. Krieg Gear, was that what it was called? That was like the World War II version of Heavy Gear or something like that? I don't remember. Making a sweet game board on a skateboard seems like a good idea until your playing surface rolls away. I don't think there were any wheels on it. It was just the board. Yeah, no, they didn't have any wheels or trucks on it. You can do motorcycles and Gaslands. It's a good point. It's a good point. Turned to 59 this month. That's pretty good. I still don't, for a gas tanker truck, Hot Wheels for Garlands. What? I think you're talking... Okay, yes. Let's see here. I was a huge 40K guy for over 25 years, took a break for Dust Tactics / 1947. I loved Dust Warfare. I loved that system. That was Andy Chambers and Mac Martin who wrote that book up. I loved that system, and those models were a lot of fun too. Dust 47 was fine, but I didn't like the rules as much. But they did get into cool, weird Cthulhu crap, which I thought was neat too. But yeah, then it sort of died. Good morning from Lowell. This morning I'm finishing the last 2 models for my 2,000 point Emperor's Children army just in time to take them to a weekend event next week. Nice. Veerman is right up there with Monkai. Indeed. What's the game that has Sam as a miniature? Is there a biker gang in that, or is that off topic? I forget all the details. So that game is called Wild in the Streets. It is made by Slow Death Miniatures. Slow Death Games. Slow Death Games. I somehow got a Q in there. Fun fact. Chris, who runs Slow Death Games, I bumped into him several times during the show, but at one point, one night over in the Grimdark Alley, he's like, hey, could you do me a favor? I was like, yeah, probably. What's up? He's like, can you record a short little video for me? I'm like, and he's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, so he's like, my barber loves your channel. I was like, oh, he's like, his name is Pep. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and so if we could just shoot a quick thing on my phone of you saying hey to Pep or whatever, and like that, and I'll send it to him and that. So, so I was like, hey Pep, how you doing? Having a great time here at Adepticon. Chris says hi. I say hi. I hope you have good time making miniatures and painting and whatever, all that kind of stuff. I forget exactly what I said. And then he sent it to Pep, and then I don't know, probably 20 minutes later, he like walked by and he like showed me his phone, and there was just like a text message. It just said, that made my night. And it just said Pep Barber. And I was like, all right, well, then good. So anyway, that's Chris from Slow Death Games. Individual miniatures, maybe? So Slow Death or Wild in the Streets is basically a game of melee combat, and it is like a bunch of venues close all at the same time, a couple of punk clubs and a metal band club and all that kind of stuff. And then there's just a scrum out in the streets. Maybe it's not an individual miniature. Straight edge, skinheads, roller derby, goth, metal. I'm pretty sure this guy right here, I think this guy is based off of Sam. I think. I mean, Sam doesn't exactly look like that particularly, but I think that guy's based off of Sam. I could be wrong, though. I'm pretty sure one of them is, and I thought it was that one. But yeah. But yeah, they've got different, they've got, here you've got your crust punks, and here you've got roller derby, you got skinheads, you got goths. So yeah, and but like the rules are free rules. Wild in the Streets rules. It is literally that's the rules. That's it. It's not much. It's pretty short. But yeah. So if you're interested, go check out slowdeathgames.com. There we go. I saw a skateboard skirmish game. Also discovered that there is a magical girl assault skirmish game that is based on the anime trope, but with a grenade launcher. All right, there you go. Morning from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Where is the Fez? I missed the Fez in videos. The Fez was mostly because it was the pandemic and I couldn't get my hair cut. My hair was going kind of crazy. But also the Fez does not work in the summer. Oh gosh, it gets warm up there. And the Fez is very much it keeps all the hot right there. And it's not bad in the winter though. And because sometimes, I don't know what it is, but lately when I get to the studio, I've been going to the studio slightly earlier than I used to. And when I get there, the thermostat is set to 44 degrees Fahrenheit, which is low. But the temperature is usually around 58 or 60, depending. As we slowly slouch more and more towards spring, it's slightly better, but not great. So I think that he's got the thermostat, the landlord, I think he's got the thermostat set to go up more at night when I'm not there, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I should probably have a chat with him and say, can we set it so that it happens earlier in the day? But we'll see. I don't pay the electricity, so, what are you going to do? Shout out for Lords of War. Gotta love the locals. Where are they based out of? I was in... Where the heck was I? I was in like St. Catharines and Niagara Falls and that area back in 2025, 2024, I think. Yes, I was there for a trade show, and I went to a couple of different shops, I think, in St. Catharines or around that area, but it wasn't, I don't think either of them were Lords of War. Just looked up a Hot Wheels tanker truck called Fuel and Fire for someone else. You might want to see if that will work for you. Ooh. If you could add one event to Adepticon, what would you add? Are they still missing something? Gosh, I don't think so. Wednesday night was just like the meet and greet for the creator people and stuff before the GW preview thingy, and that was cool. It was nice to talk to people and hang out. Arbiter Ian was there. I'd never met him before. I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of his videos because I'm not like a lore guy, but I recognize his face from thumbnails. But I was just like, I'm like, hey, that guy looks like that guy who does the, yeah. We chatted for a while. I think it was his first Adepticon. But there was lots of folks to get to talk to and stuff like that, so that was cool. Yeah, I can't think of anything, honestly. Is like, if there was anything I was going to change about Adepticon, gosh, what would that be? I think the dealer hall closes at 3 on Sunday, and I swear it used to close at 4, but I could be thinking of Gen Con. No, that's not a. I just remember because I got done. I was in the booth on Sunday from like 10 to noon, and then my brother and his wife showed up because they live in the Milwaukee area, and so they came by, and then we walked around for a while, and I showed them some stuff and everything, and they had been there last year a little bit, kind of same thing. Walked around and showed them stuff, and then we went and got some lunch. But I thought it was open till 4, but I was like, oh, and then, so that was the only thing. I don't think it's a big deal, though. Let's see here. Just arrived, so not sure what I missed. I ended up blocking Lords of War on YouTube. Their titles were just annoyingly clickbait and too gloom and doom. I think that some people do that, and they're like, well, that's the only way you can get people to watch your videos. And I'm like, I don't think it's a good answer. I honestly don't. I really try not to do that myself. So yeah, I don't know. Anyone who wants to use strange bathrooms isn't right. Home bathroom or bust. I mean, sometimes you're in public and you got to use a public bathroom. Always buy stuff from your local gaming venue because that keeps them running. Right, exactly. Now, that being said, I made a video about this some time ago about how like you got to support the store you go to, but then people would in the comments would be like, yeah, but I hate my store and they're all mean and they throw rocks at me or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. And then I'd be like, well, then don't support that store. If you don't go to a store, I'm not telling you have to support it. Like if you hate the store, they're mean and bad people, and you never go there. I'm not saying you have to go support that store. I'm saying that the store you go to, you need to support. Otherwise, you won't be able to go to it anymore. That's kind of the thing. But yes, you do get that as well. My local store is owned by a group, so don't feel bad skipping outrageous, overpriced, and then it just stopped there. I don't know. Like a group, when you say like, you mean like a group of people or like a corporation? Isn't there a big like chain of stores like the Gaming Goat? Is that one of them? I swear I've heard about that one. I've never been to one. Nate Dungeon, how you doing? Renegade 28 is only up on tabletop events right now. That's why I can't find it. Needs to get a link on our normal page. Jamie mentioned your discussion on tabletop events. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of tabletop events. It's and like I said, the people that own it, I'm friends with. I like them. They're great folks. But man, that website, they didn't make it. They bought it from somebody else, and I know who they made it, who made it, and who they bought it from. And that guy's a nice guy. There's something slightly cursed between tabletop events or tabletop.events and me. I don't know what it is, but it's been a thing. But yes. So yeah, like I said, I want to go to that. And initially I was like, ooh, I don't know if May is going to work because of the launch of our game, but our game's getting launched at the end of May. And the only reason, and it wouldn't be a big deal, it's only a weekend. The only, like, our game's going to be done and shipped off to printing before May. So that shouldn't be a problem. You want the third space of a game store, you need to support them at a minimum, snack or soda. Yeah, a lot of places do that. It's smart. I mean, I don't need to make a ton of money off of snacks and sodas. 4 locations, they're a grandchild of the parent company. I gotcha. Okay. Local store thankfully sells snacks and drinks. Snacks and drinks are great. I can only buy from retail or at shows. Sure. Happy Sunday from rainy Toronto. Got to play two more Spearhead games yesterday, and my buddy got to bust out his Slaves of Darkness that he had for years and never fielded. Well, that's good. I never saw if people were playing Spearhead at Adepticon. I'm assuming so. I just heard a weird noise that was probably cat related. Well, not much I can do about it. Da-da-da. You do have to buy at the local. I like having the physical thing in your hands when you part with your money. Like I buy stuff online, not all the time, but frequently, like stuff that I can't get anywhere, locally. And so if I only bought stuff locally, then I would mostly only be buying Games Workshop, probably. I guess, well, there's a shop here in town that sells stuff other than that, but so yeah, it's but not a lot, I like a lot of weird stuff. And like again, lately I've also been doing a lot of 3D printing and stuff like that. Like I don't see myself buying any plastic kits anymore because I can 3D print stuff, and I like the what do you call it? The selection of weird, strange stuff that I can get for 3D printing. To the point where I can even, like I said, design my own weird stuff and then 3D print that. What the heck is on the? I must have just got paint on the bottom somehow. But yeah, that's back when I used black filament. Now I use gray filament so that I can tell whether the black primer got all. Because when you print it out in black filament and then you spray black primer on it, you'd be like, did I get it everywhere? I can't tell. So that's why I switched over to gray, because then that way I can see where the black primer got. At a local shop, I saw a sign that said, if you bought it online, play with it online. I mean, that's up to that shop, I get it, totally. Former game store employee here, yeah, always buy something. I miss that job. Too many reasons not to do stores anymore, and that's sad. I mean, it depends on the person. It depends on the store. There's a lot of different reasons. I know I think post-pandemic, a lot of stores started seeing people. A lot of stores made huge money during the pandemic. Like I talked to store owner friends who were like, "Oh yeah, like June of 22 was crazy for some reason." I've talked to a bunch of different store owners who were like, "Oh yeah, like summer of 22 went nuts." And great, that's awesome for stores. But I think some of them were like, well, this is the new normal. And then you're like, no, it's not, as it turns out. So there's that problem as well with some store owners who are like, oh, this is the new gravy train that's going to be never dying. And you're like, I've got some news. But the other issue, I think, too, is that some stores are also noticing that not as many people are coming into play as they did pre-pandemic. And I think that's because the pandemic was like caused some folks to be like, well, all right, I'll just clean up this corner of the basement and I'll put a table in here and I'll do this. And then their friends would come over and, they can hang out and play and talk stupid and drink some beers or whatever. And they can't do that at the shop. You know what I mean? So local store owners that I've talked to are like, I'm not seeing as many miniature players. They're still seeing like Magic players and stuff like that, specifically Commander. Like my local shop that I go to, like Friday, Saturday all day. It's just Commander. Just the place is just filthy with people playing Commander. But on Fridays, Friday Night Magic, they're just all playing Commander, and there's like no regular whatever Friday Night Magic is. Standard? Is that what they call it? Modern? I don't know. Whatever. I just know that my local shop hasn't done the DCI thing, which is the official Magic the Gathering. You put in all your stats online, all that kind of stuff. They haven't been doing that on Friday night since before the pandemic, because everyone just wanted to play Commander in our local area. So every local area is different too. There's that too. I'm torn about it. I'm always supported whenever my local stores in some way, usually paints and model supplies. My local store switched to this everyone pays to use a table plan. Yeah, I mean, some stores do that too. It's just stopped me from being around because there's no effort to recognize the people that did support the store. I know, like in the Milwaukee area, there are some stores that are like, there's some stores that are just like, look, you got to pay if you want to you come in and use our tables. And then very frequently they will also have like a rewards program where they're like, well, if you came in and you bought something, then you get X amount of like playtime, or whatever. Like, my local shop, they don't charge you to play on a table or whatever. And they do have a rewards program, but it is for every $100 you spend, I think you get $15, like a coupon or whatever that you can use on your next purchase or something like that. So they sell stuff at retail. They don't sell it like discounted, but there's an actual rewards as you are buying things. They have their point of sale, point of purchase, whatever. Their little iPad that they type everything into. It tracks all that stuff, and then you get a star or something like that. I think they use Square. I don't know. Anyway, but in bigger stores with like a footprint that like is expensive, I've seen in bigger cities, I've seen stores doing that where they charge you to play. It's hard to say, you know what I mean? I guess if it's a situation where you're like, look, I know a lot of people are buying their stuff online and coming in here and playing it, then you charge them to play because you're giving them the space, right? And that's another way to combat it, because otherwise you go, where did that come from? Did you buy that here? Like you're going to sit there and like poke at every last little model on this table and say, did you buy that here? Did you buy? I don't remember. Do you have a receipt? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, no, like I said, it's a definitely an 8-ball behind the 8-ball type situation being a store owner these days. I got to be honest. Dilemma. Where are we? My current dilemma is I have a bunch of credit at one store and playing it in a league at another, but soda and snacks till I use up my credit. Sure. Excuse me. Our local stores in the northern Detroit burbs seem to have weekend events, usually Magic, and that attracts a lot of players, which I assume they buy stuff. Yeah. There was always another Star Wars ship. I mean, there was like kind of a time there where there wasn't before like the shows got big. And then of course now there's like a show every other week and there's lots of ships on those shows. So that's, if they would have just held out, they would have started getting, I mean, they got some of the Mandalorian ships, I think, in towards the end. But now they're like, there's got to be more ships. They could have just, they should have just ended Star Wars as a collectible game and made it an evergreen box game. I think that there's a licensing thing with that made it so that it wasn't tenable. But yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, yeah. One store did a pay for table space, but they put it in a credit bank for stuff, which I liked. Yeah, like if you're buying stuff from them and you get credit, then, for playing in the store, then great. Archon does make their own minis too. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And they're making other companies' minis too. Like Archon makes all the plastics for Trench Crusade. And they're great. I painted up a set of the Prussians. Their first ones that came out. A lot of my group are getting into Starcraft, but it's just doing nothing for me. That's the thing, is that people talk about, sometimes they're like, well, there's too many games. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of people out there who don't like this game and they like that game. But everyone's likes are different. Like people ask Vince and I, like, why do you guys keep making a new game every year? And my answer is always like, well, because eventually you might like one of them. You know what I mean? When we launched Reign in Hell, I had people who were like, I just don't like it because it's demons, or whatever. Or I just don't like it because there's no shooting. It's all, it's all melee. And I like playing games with shooting because I like that kind of ranged keep back, that. And so if we had decided that we were just going to make Reign in Hell and that was going to be our new big ecosystem game and then we were going to make expansions for it and do all this kind of stuff and yada, 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 then there would have been people that would have been like, I'm not buying anything from them because I don't like that idea or that game concept or whatever the deal is. But if you're like, yeah, I don't like that, well, maybe you like Space Station Zero, or maybe you like Majestic 13, or, all those different types of possibilities. So the fact that, number one, those games are also never dead because they're always available. They're always in stock because they're print on demand. So you don't have to ever be like, oh, geez, we ran out. I don't know if we want to get more or not. We need, we just don't have to worry about that. I think a lot of companies, I don't know, this is a personal opinion. I think a lot of indie companies get too precious about the way their book, like, oh, it's got to have just the right paper and it's got to have the right this and all that kind of stuff. And I get it. You're making an object, but it's an object that's going to get thrown away at some point. You might love this game that you bought and cherish it for the entirety of your life, and then you will die someday, and then someone's going to be like, and just pitch that into the garbage or whatever. It's going to end up in a landfill eventually. So in my mind, if I can sell you the game for cheaper, like this is still a good looking cover, you know, it's nice and colorful, it's bright, it's well printed, it's glossy, it's shiny, you know what I mean? Like this is not so colorful because but still, and yeah, admittedly, it's black and white on the inside, you know what I mean? But it's clear, it's well printed, it is, you know, it's got some artwork, obviously, there's all kinds of cool stuff going on in there. This costs $20. So, and it's always in stock. You can buy it right now. You can go to snarlingbadger.com and you go find Death Wizards and buy it, and then they will print one out and ship it to you. And as long as Vince and I keep deciding to let that go, it will always be available. Unless, I guess, I don't know, maybe Drive-Thru RPG goes out of business someday or something like that. But that doesn't seem super likely. They seem to be doing fine. But if we got that printed in China and then shipped over here or anywhere, it doesn't have to be China, but that's where most people seem to get their stuff printed these days. But if we got, you know, printed somewhere, we got 5,000 of them printed and everything, and then we sold through all 5,000, now we have to have that conversation. Vince and I, do we order another 5,000? I don't think any of our games have sold 10,000 yet. But then do we order 3,000? Well, if we order 3,000, then they're going to cost more per unit because it's a volume thing. And there's all that back and forth. And then we got to keep them someplace, and I got to go to the post office all the time. Working with these guys, the print on demand thing really, I think, makes more sense. Also, you know, if you buy them in Europe or in the UK, they get printed in the UK. If you buy them here in the States or like in Canada, they get printed in the States. So we're not having to go, oh, we ship it, you know. And even Australia, I think now they get printed in Australia, or yeah, I think they get printed in Australia if you order from that part of the world. I'm 98% sure. So, you know, I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, the problem is it's real hard to get these into stores. It's possible, but the stores have to contact us, and then we have to give them a code, and then they have to order the stuff and get it shipped to their store. And, you know, so yeah, I don't know. But I just don't think a lot of stores necessarily, like, obviously, if we went into distribution, working with the kind of middleman companies that work between the stores and the manufacturers, we could do that. But then, I don't know. What was I talking about? Who even knows? It's hard to say, doesn't it? Our locals are pretty much only into Magic the Gathering and Warhammer. Most of us old heads that are interested in other things play our games other places. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, too. When a store just only focuses on the big sellers, which I get, then that's what happens there. Admittedly, sometimes, like, I bumped into guys playing... what if I bumped into... I was at a store once, and I bumped into guys playing... Parabellum wargames, Conquest. Conquest? Yes. Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings. And I don't think that they sold that game at that store. They were there playing it, and I looked around the store and I didn't see that they sold it there. So they were probably just customers who would come in and play whatever, and, you know, probably buy their paints and things like that from there too. But yeah. I would like a Spelljammer minigame. Interesting. With Starcraft, you do have the other factions inside the species. Interesting. Starcraft 3? Was there a Starcraft 3? I don't think there was there? I asked a similar question to the Halo Flashpoint guys. If you run out of material from the games, will you create new lore or designs yourself? Interesting question with licensed games. Yeah, most times they're like, no, because they're not allowed to do so. Technically a handful of sub-factions for each main faction in Starcraft, so they'll probably churn out those over the few years. Could be, yeah. When do TMX tickets go on sale? I see you can sign up for painting classes. They don't go on sale. You just show up. Yeah, TMX. TMX. Click. There we go. Yeah, you just show up. Saturday badge is $18. Sunday badge is $12. Weekend badge is $30, and you get, which is 18 plus 12. But then you also get 2 extra door prizes. Or door prize tickets. So if you show up for Saturday only, let's say, because you can't do it on Sunday, or let's say you show up for Sunday because you can't do it Saturday, then you get a single ticket If you show up for both days, you would, instead of getting 2 tickets, you would end up getting 4 tickets if you buy a weekend badge, right? So there's the thing. But tickets are available at the door. There's no sign up online. The only sign up online that happens is for the painting classes, because the painting classes have a tendency to sell out because there's only 16 seats. Nothing else really ever sells out. It's real small. This is like 100 folks maybe that show up. So if you want to play Battletech, you want to play Country Road Z, you want to play Drop Fleet Commander and learn how to play that or whatever, you just kind of, like I said, you buy a ticket, you show up, and there's no signups. Never really had the need for it. So we just keep everything tracked here, and it's fine. But like I said, we do actually have to have classes, or we do have to sell tickets online for the classes. So you can see the 6 classes. We've got Vince is teaching a class about basic battle damage. Raven's doing OSL theory. Sam is doing backdrops, those backdrops that people put behind their fancy display stuff. And then Vince is also doing smooth blends. And Raven's doing one about photography, which is going to be cool. And then Sam's doing one about fine edges and smooth blends as well. So there you go. That's what's going on there. Several of these are at least 3/4 sold out. So if you're interested in the classes, and that's why you want to come to TMX, you may want to pull the trigger sooner versus later, just FYI. And also, like, these classes are like, basically this is the way it works. $40 of whatever the price is goes directly to the teachers. Whatever's left over, like here it says starts at $43.10, that $3.10 goes to the ticket company, and I don't take anything. Also, if you just wanted to come and take 2 classes and you weren't interested in coming to play at TMX, you don't have to buy a badge for TMX to do the classes. You can just do the classes and then, jet. But if you also wanted to potentially play some games and things like that, then you need to buy a badge for the thing. The paints and brushes and stuff like that are provided by the Army Painter. Though they do suggest if you like specific brushes, you might want to bring your own brushes. Just, people are weird about brushes sometimes, so bring your own if you want to. But otherwise, paints and all the other stuff that you're going to need are going to be provided. So. Yeah, and I've got some more stuff to add. And then as far as vendors, currently we have Snarling Badger Studios, strangely. One Page Rules is going to be there. And then also one more that I have to add is Falling Freely on Twitch. She's going to be there. She did the illustrations for the Great Goblin Argle Bargle, which was our Snarl 2024, and she's going to be there selling stickers and prints and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't know if Blackout's coming again this year. I kept missing their booth at Adepticon, so I should reach out to them, because I just had someone reach out and who's like, I want to run some Blackout, but I'm like, I don't know if because when they come and they have a vendor booth, they're also running demos all the time. So if that guy, it would be redundant if like just a local guy was running demos and then they were also running demos the entire time. But I need to reach out to them. That's part of my thing I got to do this week. So let's see here. Tinfoil hat time. Blizzard is building up to a new Starcraft game. Well, it could be. I also think if push comes to shove, Archon could make minis of the alternative skins. Maybe, I guess. New is the worst. See, there you go. If you only survive by constantly pulling out the hot new thing to force your fans to buy pointless things, you don't deserve to survive. I mean, consumerism has demands. It's true. I don't particularly care about StarCraft, but would love it if they would do Warcraft. I mean, maybe they will. If StarCraft does well, Archon has said they have full access to the entire StarCraft universe, games, books, comics. I didn't realize there were comics. I suppose. Yeah, it makes sense. They're going to have sub-factions within the 3 big factions. That's pretty cool. At first blush, you look at it and go, well, there's only the 3 armies, so I don't know. But, if there's all kinds of weird sub-factions and crap like that, and that's cool. Only company I see that even comes close to GW's weekly new release schedule is Corvus Belli with a monthly new release schedule. Oh, yeah, they do come out with new stuff pretty frequently, sure. What if they will do a StarCraft Ghost skirmish box? I was talking with somebody about that at the show, and I'm like, I think it'd be hysterical if there was a StarCraft Ghost tabletop game before they actually ever made the actual video game. since they're basically not going to make the video game. But I would, like, if it was StarCraft Ghost, if it was a skirmish game, something like that, I'd look into it. But like I said, big army game, not necessarily for me. Keeping things in stock is important, I agree. We missed sales because by Saturday, a lot of our sale power models were sold out. Adepticon was good for Sea Dog Games Studio this year. Well, that's good to hear. We sold out of some of the markers, the individual markers. I think we sold out of the marker sets at Army Painter by Sunday. I think we mostly also sold out. There were certain colors. People were buying the singles of the John Blanche Volume 1 and Volume 2. We didn't have the singles for Volume 3 or Volume 4, but the 1 and 2, there was a couple of those that sold out. There might have been some other stuff too, but I think those are the ones that I bumped up against when people would ask, and I'd go over there and be like, oh, the Grimdark Shadow is out. If I didn't already have enough stuff to keep me building and painting for 2 lifetimes, I might consider StarCraft, sure. Seems Adepticon was generally great for sales. Yeah, I know that Thursday for us at the Army Painter, I was told that Thursday was like the best sales day they had at any convention. And then I think they matched that same number on Friday and Saturday too, so. Most historical games don't need new figs out every month, true. And they all do pretty well. Played a 7-year war game yesterday with this 15-year-old game, which is still played. The trick is that they do well in comparison to, how am I trying to say this? When you get to be a company as big as GW, you can't just, like, you have to constantly get this churn going, right? Historical games can do well because they're usually a 1-person or 2-person, maybe 3-person kind of company, and they're doing this. Maybe they've got other day jobs. Like, that's the thing. Vince and I couldn't live off of Snarling Badger Studios. You know what I mean? Like, we could. It's a side gig for us, and I don't have a problem with that. I think there needs to be more side gig companies in wargaming. I just do. I think that if you're like, look, I have to do this, and this has to become my new day job, that's a big ask, and then you really have to do all this stuff to really drive sales and do all the but we're in a situation now where, again, you don't ever have to worry about warehousing and fulfillment and all that kind of stuff if you use some sort of print-on-demand company. You know, sure, you could go through everything you need to go through to actually make plastics and do all that kind of stuff, or you could also just make your games miniature agnostic and people could use the models they want, or you could get models sculpted or whatever and then sell them on My Mini Factory and maybe work with some of the other printing companies like Only Games or whatever. I mean, like, there's a lot of options, but it's when you're a big corporation with lots of mouths to feed, you have to constantly keep this churn up. Whereas if you're a smaller company like doing historical stuff, you don't have to come up with stuff as much because you're not, it's not. So yeah, when you try, it's the curse of big time is what I have a tendency to call it. The curse of big time makes you do things that you normally might not do. My first minis were made of lead. Do not lick those minis. I got the impression this year was just too soon. I'm not sure what you mean, Hank. The year was too soon. That Adepticon? Because Adepticon was the normal time that it usually is, wasn't it? Or are you thinking about something else? Gundam Assemble. Oh, maybe the Gundam Assemble was too soon because I see what you're saying. Gotcha. Maybe that's what it was about. Lead can always be melted down to shoot if you're a blunderbuss. I mean, technically true. True gamers never retire, mid-50s, and I still game? Sure. Bandai/Gundam is being marketed the Japanese way to North American audiences. Huh? Thank you for your passion and your dedication. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know it is your job, but the passion shines through. I mean, it's one of my jobs. Like, if, again, none of the 3 jobs that I technically have, being the YouTube channel and stuff that's attached to that, Twitch and Patreon and whatever, merch, So that's one thing. And then, Snarling Badger Studios, which is me and Vince and making games and also some merch and things like that. And then the third thing is, working as part of the factory team with the Army Painter. None of those things is a job by itself that would, pay my bills and stuff like that. But having all three of those things going on can make it so that I can, pay my bills and stuff like that, which is fine. So yeah, but like literally, yeah, I don't think, no. I mean, well, if we had a really good year for Snarling Badger Studios, I could probably pull it off if I was just the only thing. But the problem is it's very variable. You know, 2024 was okay. Like if push comes to shove, and technically, my wife has a job and all that kind of stuff, probably could have made it happen. It would have been fine. Keep the lights on. 2025, no. 2025, man, Rain and Iron, we're just not doing sequels anymore. That's for sure. Rain and Iron didn't sell very well. I think it just didn't strike people. And so, yeah, that was part of the problem there. It's after 11 again. I'm still yammering. I apologize. Let me just see here if there's anything else. Gundam Assemble. I don't get the unquestionable fandom for GW. Sure. I always miss your live streams. Glad I caught the tail end. I'm glad to have you here, Northern Citadel. Let's see here. Interested in StarCraft minis. See you at TMX. Hey, there's Sam. How you doing, Sam? Niagara Falls for the con the weekend before. Oh, there you go. Everybody, all right, there you go. Gundam Assemble. Gotcha. Yep, I get you. I think Gundam Assemble will be a hit. I just don't think it's going to challenge Games Workshop or BattleTech. I think it's for a specific group of folks, and that's cool. And I feel, frankly, those folks might be slightly underserved, and so now they'll have something to play. And also, I think you're going to have people who are like into Gundam but aren't into wargaming who'll be like, well, I'll try this out because I like Gundams. You know what I mean? So why not? All right, folks. Well, what's next? Our game, me and Vince, our next game, Repent, Ye Foolish Gods, which you can find out more about tomorrow morning through the Snarling Badger Studios YouTube channel. You can find the video of us recording at Adepticon last week, and you can find out more about that. And it's just a fun. It's like an hour and a half. It was a good talk. It was a lot of fun. Not the entire. We don't talk about the game for the entire hour and a half. We like answer questions and stuff like that, and then towards the end we talk about the game. So, yeah, the hour and a half to talk about the game would be a lot. So there's that. Go check that out either on your podcast thingy of choice or go look at it on the YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Snarling Badger Studios. What else? And then after the game, then there's TMX. And then once June hits, then I don't know. I've got, Gen Con comes up in August, but I don't have a lot of things going. So, I've got a bunch of things going between now and mid-June. And then after that, then it will definitely be like, well, what do I do next? But yeah, thanks to everybody for coming by. Have a good Easter if you're into that kind of thing. And I'm going to go take some more ibuprofen, I think. But everybody, if you get the chance, like I said, take a look at the podcast tomorrow. And what else? I think that's about it. Thanks to everybody for coming by and hanging out here on Sunday. And we'll see you folks again in a couple of weeks. And we'll talk about whatever. That's pretty much about it. If you get the chance, do some hobby. And if you don't, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. Do what you like doing. Have a good time with it. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.